Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all you MBL fans. Welcome to the season so far with myself, the Juancito Marvel. And unfortunately, Harvey could not join me today to go over how has the season been going for our team so far in the MBL. But I do have two competent, I would say, very good friends of all their analysts here in the MBL. We have Kabutero.
Competent is way too good of a word for me.
Okay, and we have that one guy. I don't know what his name. Ben. There we go. That one guy, Ben.
Friend is an interesting way to describe us.
We're going to go over the teams, how they've been doing throughout the season, give a little bit of the record that they've been having, and give a little bit of thoughts. So, are we ready to go, gentlemen?
I'm ready whenever you guys are.
All right, then. So, the first up is Team Flawless, coached by
Farrell and Angus.
Yes.
I'm going to be handling this team. So far, Team Flawless is 2-2 with a +3 differential, and as of this past week, are 7th in the power rankings. The next match is versus Drinking Birds, and right now, their current KO leader is Magirna. Now, if you remember, back in week 1, Magirna was basically the linchpin of their victory, and frankly, it's been a huge factor in their matches so far. Flawless, so far this season, has been a mixed bag. They are no secret to be some of the more inexperienced coaches this season, but they're definitely making up for it in creativity. They're flashy, they're smart, and they are gutsy. Hopefully, we're going to see more of that in these coming weeks. Next match is Drinking Birds, and that's going to be a tough one.
It is, definitely.
Drinking Birds are tough.
Honestly, my quick input on this team is they have a great roster on them with the diversity of Magirna, Hoopa, and Infernape. I just want to see, like you said, that creativity go even further and apply themselves within their matches.
Absolutely.
No, the only thing I can really point out is that I think it's amazing how they have a team, 11 absolute monsters that still form a cohesive team. Usually, whenever you just draft threats without any kind of glue or support, you end up with just a big mess. But this team actually, I would say, fits together rather nicely.
Thank you very much, Carbotero. We're going to go into the next one now. We're going to go into Team We Disney, which, Ben, you have as well.
Yeah, so Team We Disney, the most Disney men in the business are right now, they're the best in the business. They're 4-0, the only undefeated team so far, a massive +15 differential, consistently power ranked week number 1. Next up is the Team Oxcall. Their Gyarados has been cleaning up games left and right. And back in week 2, Linoon is a threat. It's a huge problem if you let it set up. They didn't let it set up. Skydrop took care of the setup, took care of the redirection, just solved every single problem they could have had in that matchup. And frankly, I don't see how many teams are going to stop Shofu and Duncan. They are creative, they're adaptive on the fly, they see a problem arising in the match, they flip the switch and just focus fire it and take it down. Their team is terrifying. They have so many threats, and more importantly, they have double Tapu for insane terrain control.
Yeah, definitely agree. The momentum that they also have with Tornadus Therian, with Halucha, and with Silvally, their what is a switch-in factor is very, very prominent on this team. I can't wait to see them continue to be the threat that they are.
Absolutely.
The thing that has impressed me the most has been how well they've been able to use Magmortar. Personal bias, Magmortar is one of my favorite Pokemon, and to see somebody be able to use it just absolutely amazingly as Duncan and Shofu have is something really nice to see. It's usually one of the less sought-after follow-me users in doubles, but on this team, I don't think there was a better option. Magmortar just seems to fit the team so perfectly.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep, amen to that as well. The next team we're going to bring up right now is Team Blue Hunnish with Kabutera. You have the floor.
Team Blue Hunnish, they are currently 1-3, differential of -5, position is 10th. Their next match is against Team Cyberbass. MVP of the team is gotta be the Rotom Heat. It has been a very big factor in all of their matches, and after the rough first couple of weeks, first 3 weeks to be exact, they really started to step up with a very good showing. Week 4 against Team Juice, where they had the really good play of doubling into the Kyurem Black, which not only took pressure off the Rotom Heat, but actually ended up saving them from losing a Mon because of a low roll on Deoxys' Ice Beam. I would have to say that their team looks very interesting at first, but then you realize just how many different options they have. They've got Trick Room or Oranguru, Psychic Terrain, so Deoxys can't be outsped with priority, boosting Sharpedo's Psychic Fangs, Sandstream, Hippowdon, Sandforce, Steelix. all of these different team building options make it really hard to build for.
I love their performances last week. Yes, they've been having a pretty rough start, but this is where we begin to see the creativity and basically the priority in how they plan and change their momentum. This is only week 4, so there's still a bunch more games for them to improve and just come out from the rear. So I can't wait to see how Blue Hunnish act out from this point onward.
Absolutely. And just one more thing to note about their team is something a lot of people haven't necessarily realized. They have 3 psychic types with psychic terrain. That's kind of scary, especially when one of them is Deoxys.
That is actually very true. And also they have the Psychic Terrain plus Sand Force and Stand Stream. They have a lot of versatility that I can't wait for them to start abusing this in these weeks coming up. And with that, we're going to go into Team Drinking Bridge, which I have the floor on this one. They have currently a 3-1 record, the +7 differential. They are in 3rd place in this league so far. Their next match coming up is Team Flawless, which would be a very, very interesting match, in my opinion, to see. Their MVP so far is Pheromosa with 5 kills. Definitely after this week 4, you see how threatening Pheromosa is in this format. And the notable play that we have for them is the Follow Me Blastoise from week 3 versus Team Subs, allowing the Metagross to KO the Shiftry and basically start getting the momentum to go forward with the game. Personally, this team, for me, just looks gorgeous, and I can't wait to see more of the shenanigans they can pull with that Lanoon slide and also the Oricorio eventually. But Landorus, Mega Venusaur, and Pheromosa have been the MVPs so far in terms of the niche core, and Metagross as well has been such clutch, and all that is all supported by, of course, the Blastoise. The Blastoise has been wonderful. They've been using it great this week, especially with that follow with the amount of support or offense they can bring with Blastoise.
For me, the really scary part about Drinking Bird's team is I don't even think they've used it to their full potential yet. They've been kind of timid with bringing some off-the-wall sets, but after week 4, I think that's going to change. They brought Choice Scarf, Water Spout, Blastoise,
which was amazing.
Absolutely.
Which is completely amazing to see.
The Mon we laud as the support king outside of its mega brethren, bringing it offensive is really, really good to see.
There are a couple combos I can just see looking right at this team that are very potent, very scary. We've got what is known as the Dance Dance Revolution with Pheromosa or Oricorio. We've got Follow Me Blastoise into Belgium Blinded. We've got Drought Ninetales into Darmanitan. What is living? Life Orb, Flare Blitz, In the Sun, Sheer Force boosted from Darmanitan.
Also note the Heliolisk also abuses the sun as well.
Exactly. Solar Power Heliolisk. All of these different threats they can build around makes it a lot easier to take on any threat. If Sun doesn't work this week, try throwing Blastoise Linoon at him. If that's not an option, you've got the Pheromosa or Oricorio to try. All these different cores to build around really does make this team scary.
Very, very true on that. Next up right now, we're going to go into Team Mythical. Currently, they are at the bottom of the table at 0-4, a -16 differential, and if you didn't know the bottom was it was 12th place. Their next match right now is versus Team Subs, where even though Team Subs have been showing very prominent, they have been a little bit shaky these past few weeks, and again, this is their chance to come back and shine. Their MVP so far is Guzzlord with 2 kills, and the notable play that we have decided to choose was the Fake Out Protect turn 1, forcing the early sacks in that game versus Team Jamie in week 2. Honestly, I love this roster that they have. It's so creative. 2 of my favorite Mons, Mega Metachamp and Ribombi, which they haven't used yet, and I'm excited to see when they use that. My only comment for them right now, it just comes to both the decision making, taking your time to deciding out which is the correct play to make, which we saw in week 4 turn 1. They called the play correctly by going Ice Punch into the Blastoise slot, going in and hitting that Landorus Theriod for super effective damage. But then also it comes down to as well as dispersing your Mons effectively for the team preview, because right now I think 2 weeks in a row they've been putting all their eggs on one side of the basket, which just alerts the opponent to just say, okay, we need to focus on this side, and once that side is down, we can just take it from there.
I think a lot of Team Mythical's strengths either haven't been shown because they just don't have the foresight to bring it, or they just don't know. One of the big things I'm surprised they haven't brought, as you mentioned earlier, was Ribombi. Ribombi has Speed Swap, and Speed Swap on their team is very, very interesting. Ribombi has a base
124.
I'll say 120 plus speed stat, which is nothing to shake a stick at. That outspeeds a lot of things. Now, what Speed Swap does is it swaps I believe it's the base speed stats of the two Pokemon. Imagine you suddenly have a Nidoking, a Sheer Force Life Orb Nidoking with 124 base speed. That's kind of terrifying, especially when you have all the power and coverage that Nidoking has. I want to see more things like that. I want to see a little bit more diversity from them, and I think if they're going to make a splash any week, it's going to be this coming week.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Once again, this is one of those teams where they've got just a lot of monsters on the team, but in their case, they need to figure out how do they all work together? How are you going to be able to pick from all of these 6 mons that are able to accurately, or effectively rather, be able to cover their weaknesses throughout the battle, and I really think that's where they're struggling.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. And I've talked enough so far, so we're going to take it away to Kabutero to talk about Team Dreamball.
All right, Team Dreamball. They are at a nice 3-1 record, plus 14 differential, which puts them right in the 2nd slot in the overall rankings. Next match is versus Team Juice. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. And Zygarde 50% is by and large their MVP with 8 KOs. And of course, the notable play that they've done, one of the most creative plays we've seen in the league so far, the Fling Aguav Berry from Scrafty onto the Weakness Policy Bronzong, which basically heals it and gives it +2 in both offensive stats, which is really, really creative. Another play that I can just think off the top of my head is that they have a lot of ways they can set up Zygarde. They have Stockpile Baton Pass from Drifblim, they have Swagger, Finny, and Misty Train, which they used both of those against Blue Hunnets in week 3. And their team is very, very scary because at first glance, it just looks really bulky. You got the Finny, the Heatran, the Zapdos, the Scrafty, the Bronzong, the Drifblim, the Tangela, the Mega Audino, and then you look tucked away there and you see the Zygarde and you see the Mega Absol. And I think that's where a lot of teams slip up. They just think, it's just a bulky team. We just need to bring things that beat the bulk. Those things that beat the bulk, however, then lose to the Absol or anything like that. And I'm assuming that's probably why they've been able to pull out all of these 5-0 victories, which is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better way to describe it. These guys, they're mad scientists. They are going to beat you in multitudes of different ways. You expect one way, and suddenly you get a left cross across the jaw. And you expect that next time, and suddenly you're taking an uppercut to the chin. It's not fair.
It really isn't, especially since you have 2 mons that can just passively heal with Heal Pulse that we've seen them do efficiently these past few weeks. I believe the Mega Audino with Tapu Fini, that was just a wonderful display to see. And then the following week after, Tapu Fini into the Zygarde. It was just well planned, well executed. Again, like you said, this is the reason why they've been getting 5-0s 3 weeks in a row. Much expectations coming out from them for the next coming weeks, but we're going to move on right now to Team Cyberbass. Currently, right now, they are 2-2 in record. The differential is +4, and they're positioned in 6th place right now. Their next match is versus Team Blue Hunnets. Their MVP right now is Volcarona with 5 KOs. Very, very impressive. And notable play that we chose for this was the Charm Purloin to weaken Breakneck Blitz from Amipon in week 4 versus Team Leaky. That was great to see because they weren't expecting the Breakneck Blitz whatsoever. And when Amipon pulled that out, they were just like, thank God we charmed into that slot. Currently, they have been on record the most experienced team in doubles in between the two of them, but the only problem is right now they're not really synergetic in the league, but they are definitely versatile with the mons they brought. The schedule for them coming up is going to be tough going on further from this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway for Team Cyberbass for me is they're experienced, they're smart, very consistent, but they're just little signs here and there that things are a little sloppy. Just this past week, they saw Electabuzz in hail for a few turns, and it didn't clue them off that it wasn't taking hail damage, that it was safety goggles. And they lost a crucial bit of momentum when the Breloom wasted its turn, sporing into that slot when it could have bullet seeded there or spored into the other slot. It's a very, very kind of like, I wouldn't say rookie mistake to make, but it's a mistake that experienced players like this wouldn't make normally. And I want to see them clean those up and just like, I'll buckle it down from here.
There's not really much else I can say. This is a very solid team overall. We've got plenty of support from the Raichu to the Purloin. We've got power from things like Megarodactyl, Volcarona. We've got just very good type cores, like offensive. You've got Firewater Grass, Volcarona, Azumarill, Breloom. You can throw in Bruxish over Azumarill if you really need to. A lot of very very strong Mons, and they've got the brains behind it, so they just need to make sure to keep up the good work, and we can definitely see that position number rising.
I definitely would agree with that, especially since in the beginning of the season they were in the top 3. So we can't wait to see what Team Cyberbass is going to be coming out with in the next following weeks. But we're not going to go on to Team Subs, which Kabutero has the floor.
Okay, Team Subs. A not as impressive record as some of our other people that we've seen already, with a 1-3 -12 differential, which puts them solidly in the 11th slot, which is next to last. Next match is going to be versus Team Mythical. So either way, one of those two teams will be rising up in rankings, hopefully. Their MVP is the Mew with 3 KOs. And one of their really notable plays was versus Blue Hunnits Week 2. When they transform into Mega Steelix late game, what that did was it meant that Blue Hunnits couldn't bring in their Hippowdon unless they wanted Steelix to get the Sand Force boost. So it kind of forced them into their other Pokemon, which was easily dealt with, and then Hippowdon was left all on its own. This looks like a strong team on paper. You've got the Meglucari, you've got the Clefable, the Mew, stuff like the Raikou, Shifter for fake out support, Seismitoad as a water deterrent, Typhlosion for a good eruption, just cleaner. Got Tailwind and Quick Guard and all that stuff on the Crobat, and the Hitmontop with Wide Guard. Looks like a very solid team. Just the drivers of this are just not as experienced as some of our other battlers. They're both on pretty much the same wavelength when it comes to battles, which is a blessing and a curse because they can reach decisions very quickly as a group. The issue with that, of course, is that might not be the correct decision. They might both think, okay, X is a good plan, when it turns out that if they had just thought a little bit more, they would have come up Y, which would have given them a much better position. So once they get that experience, I could definitely see them going much higher.
Yeah, I think the biggest tragedy that we've seen from Team Subs is that they have so much potential. Their team, as you mentioned, it's fantastic. Well, it's got so many options. It's got all the utility you want on a team like this. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them take their team building to the next level, take their decision making to the next level, and maybe take a good hard look at each other and say, hey, maybe we should take a little bit of extra time because maybe that extra 10 seconds will get them from, as you said, decision X to decision Y.
And I also agree with everything my companions have said. Just use those 100 seconds. Use them wisely. I can see the Crobat Hitmontop Droidon combo of just Intimidate, Tailwind, and Super Fangs just be great support for, like we said, Mega Lucario, for the Clefable we want to ring offensive, for Raikou, for Scarf Typhlosion. I can't wait to see 1 week. They have so much potential, and we just cannot wait for the potential to actually occur. But moving on right now, we're going to go into Team Not Scald, and also Kabutero has the floor for this.
Team Not Scald, this is, although I said, this is probably my personal favorite team, so let's get right into it. Record of 3-1, differential at -2, puts them in the 4th position. So their wins are close, and their losses couldn't be further from that, unfortunately. Next match is versus Team Wii Disney, so we'll see if maybe they can reverse that trend before it gets much worse. MVP is, of course, the big bug himself, Buzzwole, with 6 KOs. Notable play from them would be versus Team Juice Week 2, Rock Sliding from Buzzwole and the Volcanion switch in, which gives Buzzwole that free beast boost. And if you look at their team, if I could describe it in one word, it would be scary. They have absolute monsters. They've got things like the Celesteela, the Arcanine, the Megachomp, the Buzzwole, the Suicune. All of this is then bundled up with very nice support from Alolan Raichu, Comfey, the Leaky. Even the Malamar could do maybe some plays reversing Intimidate with like a Topsy-Turvy, switcherooing items, just knock-off support, simple Beamy. All of those are very good support options. Cradily with Team Subs, it's a water deterrent, which is very, very good against a lot of teams, helps out relieve pressure from the Arcanine, also gives Cradily its own way to fight back with a bit of an offensive boost. The players behind this are, I would say, they're experienced, but just not in this format in particular, and they've been using that other experience to really put in the work, and that just makes me think that when they get as much experience in this format as other people, it's going to be a slaughterhouse.
They've had 3 close matches. They have 3 1-0s, and then when Team Jamie came knocking, they responded, but not in the right way. It wasn't pretty. Their team is good. They have anti-weather in both Cradley and Leaky with Storm Drain and Cloud9 respectively. They have Suicune for Tailwind, Arcanine for Intimidate, Celesteela for general all-purpose annoyance, Buzzwole for wall breaking, Comfey for status protection and healing, and then Trick Room if they really want it in Malamar. We saw Team Mythical has this as well. Alolan Raichu gets Speed Swap. I want to see it. I want to see a base 110 speed Buzzwole.
Personally, I want to see that as well because that's just a scary thought, seeing a Buzzwole at base 110. But really quickly, I want to see that Comfey out. That Triage is so clutch in doubles format. So much potential with just priority healing. And we're going to continue right now from there. We're going to go and talk about Team Juice. Ben, you're up.
Right, so Team Juice, last season's regular season champions. They have a record of 1-3, a differential of only -3, so one of the higher differentials of the teams with losing records, and that puts them in 9th place. Next week, they're going to be going up against Team Dreamball, so that's going to be a very exciting match to watch. And their current MVP is Tornadus Therian with 4 clean KOs. The notable play we saw for them was Chestnut going Worry Seed into Sylveon against Team Leaky, getting rid of that nasty Pixelate and making their Hyper Voice basically useless. So Team Juice is a very, very solid team. I think their team is great. They have Intimidate, they have Wide Guard, they have spread moves, they have power hitters like Volcanion, Durham Black, they have speed control in 2 ways, Trick Room with Aromatisse and Hoopa Confined, Tailwind with Tornadus Therian, all sorts of nasty spread moves like Relic Song, Snarl. Their team is very well built. I think they are too, not consistent isn't the word I'm looking for, but they're very samey in how they play each week. They try to play a little too safe. And I think while they do make some very good plays, like the Worry Seed Chestnut, again in week 3, they had the Aegislash go for Wide Guard and Tornadus Therian go for Grass Knot, take care of the Rhyperior on Team Leaky's side. But I think they need to take the next step with team building. I want to see Vivillon more with Friend Guard. I want to see Chestnut with Super Fang and stuff. I want to see more of their team. I want to see the Meloetta. I want to see them bank on that Relic Song, baby. It's a 20% chance to sleep both of the enemy team. That's pretty good. I want to see them go beyond what they have right now. And hopefully this next match against Dreamball serves as that wake-up call.
I do like some of the inventiveness they bring. One of the biggest ones was the week that they brought Stealth Rocks, and you could just hear from the other player's perspective. They would look something up, and they would say, oh, okay, we're fine. This Mon lives this attack. And then they would go, wait, we didn't account for rocks. And that throws all of their calculations out the window. So then they're scrambling. Just really affects the playstyle, and I want to see more of that too.
I actually 100% agree. The psychological warfare they have been abusing a lot in terms of speed controls, which Tailwind and Trick Room, just having that potential. Like a lot of teams do have this, but Team Juice has been abusing the fact that they have this versatility on them. And I especially love that Worry Seed play from the Chestnut. And just saying, Ben, how dare you do Relic Song? How dare you suggest that, getting that 20%?
Hey man, if it works, it works. We take those.
Even though we do take those, we are going to move on to Team Jamie. Their current record right now is 2-2, nice and even with a +6 differential. They're currently in 5th place. Their next match coming up next week is Team Leaky. Their MVP is Porygon Z with 10 kills. That is disgusting from these guys. And their top play just recently happened. The Follow Me Wide Guard, Mr. Mime assisting the PZ, allowing it to do the Z conversion, changing it into an electric type, getting the +1 stat and everything but HP, which allowed them to sweep Team Not Scald. I love their team. I personally have loved their team from day one. In the beginning weeks, you can see it in week 2, they won that week, but you see it's in 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. And in the beginning 2 weeks, they were prioritizing the sand, and I just love that in these following 2 weeks, even though sometimes it didn't work, they've let up the fact that, okay, we have sand, but we don't always have to use sand. We have other mons, such as Victini, such as Mr. Mime, such as Drigalgy, and also we saw this week the debut of Superior, which even though it didn't do a lot, it still picked up a KO, dropping the Porygon Z of 6-0. I just say keep on going. Keep on doing what you're doing right now. Be inventive.
This last week was brutal. And the 3-headed monster, that's what these guys are. They are terrifying, given how they've been using Mr. Mime. Of course, you can't talk about Team Jamie without talking about Porygon Z. When will it stop? When will someone rise up and stop this tyranny?
Never.
This Pokemon is absurd. You just look at these Pokemon, you go, they're not going to be too much of a problem. And then you look at their match against Team Not Scald, and suddenly you realize, oh, they are a problem. They are a problem that's killing our entire team.
I also want to point out that they don't have an S tier. They've got this really solid team without the best tier. They just say, we don't need that. We can win without the one really good Mon by just drafting a bunch of Mons that add up to more than that. It's really amazing how they're able to do that.
We're going to go into the last team that we're going to talk about. Team Leaky. Ben, closes out, my man.
Absolutely. So Team Leaky, record of 2-2, nice in middle of the road, a -6 differential, which puts them with a combination of both record and differential at 8th. Their next matchup is the previous team we just covered, Team Jamie. Their current MVP right now is the big bad dinosaur, Rhyperior. And speaking of Rhyperior, the notable play involves it and their mascot, Continental Crush Rhyperior and Giga Impact Ant Bomb, taking out both of the enemy Pokemon against Team Cyberbass this past week. Team Leaky, to me, is the epitome of middle of the road this season. They have very solid team building, very solid prep, very solid adaptation in the middle of the games, and of course they have a middle of the road record. They've had 2 close wins, 1 not so close loss, but that was against Team Dreamball, and a very middle of the road loss against Team Juice. Their team is very versatile, as I've mentioned. They got Necrozma, Mega Gyarados, Sylveon. They also have some weird threats like Mega Beedrill. You wouldn't think it'd be good in this kind of format, but when you have so much redirection in general, just one down targeting, Mega Beedrill suddenly gets very scary if it just starts picking things off. Abomasnow plus Rotom Frost. You got Blizzard Spam and 2 Pokemon. Rhyperior, Wander Trick Room. This thing is kind of scary. And of course, they got Ambipom for Fake Out and Quick Guard. And last but not least, they have 2 very useful redirection Pokemon, Magmar and Electabuzz. When backed by the Eviolite, they're surprisingly bulky with pretty good typing to boot. I think for me, the biggest thing I want to see of Team Leaky is I want to see something wild. I want to see something like a Swords Dance Mega Beedrill. I want to see a Calm Mind Sylveon. I want to see Gyarados do something nutty, maybe something like a physical Necrozma. Just something that will catch the other team off guard, because while they have been very good and very consistent, their team hasn't been anything jaw-dropping. They haven't done anything like Team Dreamball has with all the wacky nonsense they've been bringing. With that said, I want to see what you guys think of that. I just want to see them do something spectacular.
I would definitely agree. I think they are playing it a bit too safe right now. They need to try something crazy. I know from my personal battle experience, if the best way to win is that you make your opponent outpredict themselves, run some risks, go crazy, throw your opponent off guard.
I personally do like the support they have with Magmar and Electabuzz, both having the potential to follow me. And also, like you saying, wacky play. They did try to do a wacky play, I believe, against Team Dreamball, but that was shut down immediately when they were just forced to leave Sylveon there and forced to switch out after it got off a Z Celebrate that boosted everything up. What you said last time about Team Juice, I want to see from Team Leaky a little bit more consistency and just a little bit more solid decision-making aspects. Yes, they won 1-0 against Team Cyberbass, but I felt like their past weeks have been just a little bit shaky. They have had a rough lineup with Team Dreamball, Team Juice, and Team Cyberbass in weeks 2, 3, and 4. Expecting more, bigger, and better things coming from week 5 after this break, guys. So with that, we are actually going to close out the season thus far video. If you guys did enjoy, please do leave a like and also comment down below, coaches and fans alike, just saying what you thought of the season so far as of this point of weeks 1 to 4. Thank you guys, Kabutero, Ben, for coming out for doing this video.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure's mine.
If you guys have not checked out the MBL channel, please do check it out. In the MBL channel, all of the playlists of each individual coach, so you can follow them through their history and through their season 2. So thank you guys for watching.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.